Blessings, blessings, blessings. So, a couple things I want to download on real quick here. The things you got to understand about truth and what we call enlightenment or awakening. We just use these words. They don't really exist that way that the human mind thinks, but they're states of consciousness, states of experiencing from. So we use words just to make them separated, right, from other states. Awakening means to awake from the dream, right? To awake, to be enlightened, to be full of light, truth, light of God. Not light and dark light, but enlightened. And then, realization, right? To be realized, to realize the truth. Some use these things interchangeably. Some of my brothers, they separate them because the way that a consciousness comes through them and the source uses them to teach. They like to separate the categories so that their sheep can hear their voice that way. Some of the brothers just mold them together. It just depends on who you go to. If you go to a real absolute teacher, like all of them are absolute, but if you go to one that just goes straight to it, like some of these in Hindu and Indian masters, they're just going to not separate any of it. They're just going to use these words to try to destroy your ego so you can just wake up. And then some of the brothers, like our Western teachers, they're a little bit more gentler, even though they still understand that truth. They're going to ease your mind into it. They're going to break you easily. So just to clarify that. But I wanted to say a couple key pointers that probably could help some of my brothers and sisters, whoever taps in, whether it's 4 people or 40, whatever it may be. It's all good because it's for who it's for. And but there's a couple of conditions in the mind that happen that are part of this play. So the dream world, which we call this a dream world, but you understand when we say dream, you got to always go behind your mind to understand the concepts when someone's talking from these spaces. So if we say dream, we don't mean dream like it's not, you're not experiencing it. We mean, and you experience a dream, but and it may have constructs to it that that you seemingly obey and all that stuff, right? Just like a matrix. But when we say dream, we mean that it's not final reality, that you can wake up from it. That's when we say dream. A lot of times when people hear dream, they mean, oh, so that means I could just do whatever I want in the dream, right? In which there's levels to where you experience some things, different levels, of course, where there's no you to be doing anything. You're just one with the source. That's the ultimate awakening. But anyway, the point is, dream is implying that you can wake up from it, that it's not final reality the way that you experience it. So your mind and thoughts and constructs that you live from are logged in from this dream world. So if you look at like in the Matrix, when Neo wakes up and Morpheus is training him, he says some rules you will be able to bend and some you could break. He was telling him because some of the rules and constructs in his mind were inhabited given to him from the dream world. So some could just be broken because they're all illusions, but they have a purpose in the dream world. So he was saying you don't live from those constructs, but those constructs can be used in the place, is what he was saying to him. So if we are realizing, awakening, being enlightened to our trueness, one of the biggest ones are individuality, right? So the individual mind projects anxiety and fear and traumas and stuff constantly because it feels separate from reality. So therefore you always feel like you have a certain fundamental fear. And therefore that is the nature of you being unawakened, is this fundamental fear, anxiety, projection of the future. I'm not going to get what I want. Even if I do, it's not going to be like, there's this projection of insecurity and instability. That is one of the signs that you're living in you're living in a dream, that you're in an unawakened phase and state. Because as you start to awake, and there's degrees of your awakening, right? And it's like a spectrum of light of awakening. As you start to wake, that starts to gravel and those things start to loosen. The fundamental fear that you have starts to be dismantled. Even if you do have ways, because you're so conditioned and programmed to think that way and believe that thought, you would you would start to see through it, and it will disappear because you see through it already, right? And you see through it more as you lean upon the absolute teachings of your teachers, your masters, or just anyone that's a mentor, or just any downloads directly from source. There's absolutes. These absolutes dismantle the relative experience of the dream world. So you're not going to just be able to levitate or fly right away, probably. And not even saying that that's the goal. And obviously, all things are about, all things lay bare and are available. I'm just making a point that it's not about the outward show of the dream, because someone can look like they're in suffering and not be suffering. A fully enlightened, fully awakened, realized being could be in India looking like they're in a bad situation and be in bliss. And then a person that sleep in the dream world could be in Newport Beach with a Lambo and all of the houses and all these girls and a body that's pristine and be in suffering. So we have to realize it's an inner world experience, because God is inside us and outside us, but inside us is from where outside manifests. So basically our experience manifests from within us. So when we start to tap into the truth of what we are beyond the small I identity of this place and merge into the source, then those things are taken from us slowly and surely, and what is exchanged is joy and contentment, right, and peace, right, and bliss, and it extends as we start to live in that space. Now, the resistance to this is typically your conditioning and programming has a love. I was talking to one of our brothers about this. It loves that show. The reason why most people aren't just awakened and enlightened is not because they just can't. It's because they still love the play, the dream, the show, to experience that way. The threat of losing it, feeling anxiety, addicted to the fear, to, oh man, what's going, like that is still there. Nothing wrong with that. It's not a sin or nothing. It's just a level and a way to experience. You'll realize as you're awakening and enlightening, you won't be able to really have a lot of things in common with different levels and states of consciousness, because if you're not addicted to that anymore and you are transcending certain ways of experiencing, you won't be able to relate really to certain people in certain ways, because and not just by your own choice, just kind of natural, like a river or ocean would flow and kind of just keep things naturally how it's supposed to be balanced, because you don't have that anymore. So you have to observe yourself truly. Your true self has to observe your mind, body, ego conditioning, your way your thoughts appear and how you believe your thoughts. Not just your thoughts. A lot of the masters say thoughts, but I like to go a little bit deeper, because you could have a thought appear that you don't believe at all, and it just appears and you don't really believe it. And those are like the scatterbrain monkey mind thoughts, right? That could just be annoying kind of to a degree because they're just there, but you don't really believe them. But then you have your thoughts that I call those like deeper. They're like your constructs. They appear as a thought, but they're your constructs. They're your belief systems. They're your ideals, right? They're your programs. Now these you believe. Not only you believe, you live from them. It's beyond belief. You live from them. That's why enlightenment and awakening is so hard at first, because the constructs and ideals and programs that you live from have to be dismantled. So it feels like yourself is killing yourself. That's why Jesus is on the cross, right? That's why Buddha is under the Bodhi tree, right? And that's why they have that example of that type of death. That's why the masters say, oh, the I has to die, your ego has to die, you have to have an ego death, right? That's why they talk so hard to kill your ego constantly, because the thing that's really you can't die. And the thing that's really you can't nothing be taken from it or given to it. It's already that. You just have to see that. But the thing that's blocking that is the small I. So the thing that thinks it's the name and the conditions and programs that you have to operate in this place, which limit you, not just in operation, but more importantly, in experience and from observation and from state that you're in and from just isness, even beyond those words, right? So that's the kind of like, that's why every threshold you kind of wobble back and forth until you cross, because that ego identity mind construct, especially if you have stronger ones, are going to give you every excuse, every reason. It's going to go under, above, over, especially if you're an American, like Western world ego that's really complicated and really, really dug in, really believe it, right? Because if you was like, it was easier to be enlightened back in the days to say, because, you buy a bonfire and you you by a bonfire and you gotta fight for your life every day, and you gotta sit every night and go to sleep, and you got someone teaching you. You don't have a lot of distractions to build your identity up besides what's going on. It might be easier to pop out that net, right? So when you're in the Western world, we have a more constructed identity and programs. We overcomplicated our ego. So what happens is, as we start to arise and enlighten and awaken, that ego, so it's like the Satan part of it, is so deceptive and so cunning that it knows how to say, like, bring certain thoughts or constructs or memories to try to keep you fortified. So as you overload it with truth, and you just rest in truth, and you don't fight and observe, it will start to dismantle slowly and surely, and then the light will creep in. And so most people, their enlightenment and their realization is not sudden. Some people have sudden ones, or they have a sudden experience and they still have to go back and still let it process, because either way you have to process it. But some people just have a sudden one, like Ramana Maharshi said, he just had a full death experience when he was young, and he was just already enlightened after that. He didn't have to like even have anything else happen, right? But most people, it's a sudden, gradual thing. So the point of this of our existence is to see what we are, to know what we are, to be what we are, and to live from that space, right? So as we challenge by the truth of the light of truth teaching and the truth of just what it is and isness and source, and we have all these words: Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, realization, awakening, enlightenment, right? God, right? Source, right? Creator, all these things, right? As that is piercing through, and we're realizing, it's going to dismantle our limited programs and belief systems that we've built our life upon. So as we start to trust, then it'll take away, because those things only project fear. Even if they seem like strong constructs and seem like they give you power, they only project fear because they're in duality of the dream world, that they could be taken or not happen. So as we continue to see through that, slowly but surely, we will become more and more, and that's the journey of the purpose of manifestation of this vessel in this dream world. Blessings.